Welcome to Module 5, Mushrooms, Berries, and Seeds. Mushrooms are an integral part of the nutritarian diet as they have huge health benefits and also aid weight loss. Mushrooms work better than probiotics because they increase the diversity of the microflora, which are, of course, the different bacterial species living in your digestive tract. And the microflora that develop in response to eating mushrooms regularly seem to be especially protective against dangerous bacteria like Salmonella and Clostridium difficile, which can cause dangerous, life-threatening infections. So eating mushrooms not only decreases the risk of bowel infections, but also reduces the overgrowth of harmful yeast and harmful bacteria that can result from antibiotic use. In other words, mushrooms are the safest way we can increase the digestive microflora, and while they're doing that, they decrease inflammation in your digestive tract and remove and prevent the development of all kinds of dangerous or pathogenic bacteria. They increase our natural defenses against all types of infections. Now, the two other powerful benefits of mushrooms are that they're highly active angiogenesis inhibitors, maybe the most powerful of all foods as angiogenesis inhibitors, and they're very powerful aromatase inhibitors too, which I'll explain what that is, of course. Angiogenesis is the formation and promotion of new blood vessel growth, and if you want to grow fat on your body, you need blood vessels to serve that fat and deliver oxygen and calories to the fat to make it grow. Mushrooms oppose that growth, and they help you shrink fat as you lose weight. Angiogenesis inhibition also prevents cancer cells from growing, gaining a blood supply, and metastasizing. So mushrooms inhibit the growth of things on the body that shouldn't be growing. You don't want to promote excessive growth in an adult. That, of course, is because that leads to cancer. Americans in general produce way too much estrogen, and mushrooms help lessen that. That's the enzyme aromatase we're talking about that mushrooms inhibit. Of course, we reduce our estrogen exposure, keeping the fat off our body and eating healthier because fat cells produce estrogen. But what the most powerful effect on reducing estrogen, the most powerful effect you can do, is eat mushrooms regularly. Mushrooms are the most powerful natural aromatase inhibitors. Aromatase enzymes make estrogen, and mushrooms deactivate these enzymes, lowering estrogen production and blocking estrogen stimulation of breast tissue, of course, in prostate tissue, and strongly preventing breast cancer and prostate cancer. So is one mushroom a day ideal? Maybe, but the studies indicate that you get additional benefits if you approach 3, 4, or even 5 mushrooms a day. And it's probably better, and we can see it in the studies, that if you eat even different types of mushrooms, you get even more benefits. And if the drug companies could invent a drug to do what mushrooms could, wouldn't we be paying like thousands of dollars a month for it? Mushrooms, are just incredible. They're just a few dollars a month, and hardly anybody recognizes it. How this incredible power you get from mushrooms. And they don't have a clue that these major pharmaceutical companies marketing drugs and so much money that mushrooms are so much more powerful. And of course, there's no major marketing money to make from marketing, promoting mushrooms to doctors and the public to prevent and even treat breast cancer, but obviously they have tremendous beneficial effects here. So remember now that mushrooms have incredible an assortment of benefits. Let's review some of these now. They lower blood pressure, they lower cholesterol, and they lower blood sugar, blood glucose. They make you live longer. They slow down the rate of the aging process, resisting aging of telomeres, stabilizing stem cells. They increase your function of your immune system, recognition of the immune system to be able to recognize abnormal cells. They help you fight infection, right? It's like a wonder pill with no side effects, except for the good ones. And they taste good too, right? Everybody should be eating mushrooms. But it gets even more interesting, because mushrooms are super low in calories, but they also interfere with caloric absorption from other foods, increasing weight loss. It's not just that they're low in calories, they interfere with the enzymes like amylase that break down carbohydrates. So in other words, mushrooms lower blood glucose in diabetics, but they do so because they prevent the absorption of the glucose from other foods that are not mushrooms, right? The other foods that contain glucose or other carbohydrates. They actually block the carbohydrate breakdown from foods eaten in the same meal. And wow, right? It's just incredible. They block calorie absorption in general. It's unbelievable that mushrooms are the best diabetic food and weight loss food and best medicine and blood pressure and effects and cancer and everything else, right? The medical costs, the medicinal effects with no side effects. Pretty fascinating, interesting. And by the way, just to take a break from all the heavy science, why does a mushroom always get invited to the best parties? Because they're fun guys. Fun guys, get it? But the thing is that if there's too many of them at a party, people are going to leave because there may be there's not much room. But I'll end this section by wishing you lots of financial success so you can afford a home with mushrooms. Okay, you know, if you smile at the stupidest jokes, you still live longer because smiling and laughing makes you live longer. Cool. Now let's move on to berries, okay? So berries are a food with benefits that could even shock the researchers doing the studies. Many of these benefits of eating berries are due to their polyphenol compounds, such as flavonols and anthocyanins as well, which are strong antioxidants. But the other beneficial bioactive compounds in berries include tannins, lignans, sterols, and of course berries are super rich in vitamins and minerals. Berries supply almost more nutrients and the least calories of all fruits, and their high fiber and phenolic compounds make them glycemically favorable and diabetic favorable. Interestingly, the high amount of polyphenols in berries inhibit the absorption of sugar, not only the sugar contained in the berries, but the sugar eaten in the other foods eaten at the same meal. So they're unique in this regard, such as having such a diabetic-friendly fruit. Now, cancer prevention is the real hallmark of berries, because the studies from around for the last 30 years all over the world show these incredible antioxidant nutrients in berries that induce cancer cell death. And this ability has now been shown in hundreds of studies. They're not only rich in these polychemical antioxidants, but they also have anti-angiogenesis activity. And as you probably know, that prevents tumors from growing, but also obviously inhibits fat growth. So all these foods work together and they work synergistically. The mushrooms, the flax seeds, the berries have these anti-estrogenic activities which prevent breast stimulation or cancer cells from accumulating or breast cancer from happening. If people would just eat healthy, they wouldn't have to worry about these diseases. The anthocyanins in berries also activate natural killer T cells, improving immune function, and also aid, of course, in the killing of abnormal cells as well. So multiple studies now have shown that adding berry or berry powders and berry gels result in amazing results. One study showed a reversal of oral leukoplakia, which is a precancerous lesion in the mouth, and it went away, disappears when you have berries. And another study showed reversal of Barrett's esophagitis, which again is a precancerous inflammation in the esophagus. And another study showed the reversal of esophageal dysplasia, which is a precancerous lesion of the esophagus as well. So, and in another study done against colon cancer patients showed eating black raspberry powder modified tumors that were the tumor genes that suppress tumor growth. And of course, the berries then reduced the growth of the polyps in the colon by over 50%. So in other words, they modified tumor genes in the cells to change to silence the abnormal genes and make them stop growing abnormally, and of course prevent the development of colon polyps. So now let's talk about the positive effects of berries on the brain, because over the recent years, berries have been shown to help cognition, memory, and motor coordination and memory. The polyphenols in berries have actions that directly increase brain cell signaling and the growth of new brain cells, leading to improved brain function. These anthocyanins in berries are capable of getting into the brain tissue. They pass the blood-brain barrier easily, of course, compared to other foods, helping improve memory, and it's probably due to their ability to lower inflammation, lower oxidation, and increase blood flow in the brain. So for those of you who have atherosclerosis or plaque on your arteries, which can cause heart attacks and strokes, which is, of course, the major cause of death in the Western world, then you'll be happy to learn that berries help reduce the risk of heart attack. They reverse that too. For example, those participants in the Nurses' Health Study, listen to this, those women who ate more than 1.5 cups of blueberries or strawberries per week, more than 1.5 cups per week. I was thinking today, they had a 34% lower risk of having a heart attack just from the people who didn't hardly eat any berries, right? Just from that one food. They weren't eating the whole nutritarian protective food. They just had more berries and it decreased their heart attack risk by 36%. That's totally amazing. Hi, I just wanted to take a moment and thank you for watching this masterclass. We're all so busy in our lives today, and I know how time is incredibly precious to every single one of us. The time you spend on your own self-education, such as going through this masterclass, is the best investment you can ever make for your future. And that's why I'm so passionate about sharing this information with you, and why I encourage you to not only own the masterclass for yourself, but for your family as well. When you take a moment to upgrade and own the masterclass, you'll receive a free package to give to a friend or loved one. We are giving you a buy one, get one free offer because we know how much you care about your friends and family, and we want you and them to thrive for years to come. I'm honored you're here with us, and I hope you can take a moment to see all the valuable bonuses you're receiving when you order today. With that said, let's continue with the rest of this module. I have more valuable information to share with you. Berries lower cholesterol and triglycerides, and they decrease the number of activated platelets, which means that, of course, platelet stickiness and high propensity of platelet clotting could increase risk of heart attacks. And berries are another food that prevents platelets from clotting excessively. So, of course, they reduce heart attacks and strokes. In other words, berries work to get rid of any abnormal sticky platelets that can promote excessive clotting. And the last letter of G-BOMBS, of course, is S for seeds. Nuts and seeds, particularly seeds, are a particularly important part of the nutritarian diet. Nuts and seeds, of course, contain fewer calories per tablespoon than oil, right? Like a tablespoon of oil is 120 calories, and their fat content of oil is all absorbed, whereas all the fat content of nuts and seeds are not absorbed, which means their calories are not all absorbable. Some of the fats in nuts and seeds stay behind and stuck to the fiber, and they pass through into the stool or the toilet bowl. And so the rest of the fats that do get absorbed are so slowly absorbed because of the sterols and stanols and fibers that bind them, the oil calories or the fat calories from nuts and seeds come into the body 100 times slower than oil, satiating hunger and encouraging fatty acid oxidation, meaning that they're burned for energy as opposed to stored as fat. When you take oil, it's stored as fat. When you take nuts and seeds, it's burned for energy. Nuts and seeds are rich in sterols, stanols, fibers, minerals, lignins, and other health-promoting nutrients. They're linked in numerous scientific studies to slimmer waistline and longer lifespan, especially for prevention against heart disease and cancer. Now, oils, like other processed foods, have their fiber and most of their nutrients removed. They're dramatically weight-promoting and don't have the health benefits of seeds and nuts. In fact, a recent study compared a traditional Mediterranean diet to one that substituted nuts for the oil and found that the atherosclerotic plaque only regressed or went away in the diet that contained the nuts. It did not regress in the control diet or in the olive oil heavy Mediterranean diet. So the Mediterranean diet might have been better than butter or other sources of oil, but of course this Mediterranean diet with olive oil was further evaluated in Spain, a Spanish study, randomizing more than 7,000 men and women to include either nuts or olive oil, and the nut group consumed more than 3 servings of nuts a week, listen to this, just 3 servings a week, a 39% reduced all-cause mortality, all causes of death, which means death compared to the oil users, and that includes heart attack and cancer deaths. Death in this, they averaged that over the many years of following these people to the point when they were dying, of course. So what I'm saying here right now is even a small amount of nuts or seeds helps dieters feel satisfied, feel satiated, stay with a healthy eating program, giving them more success at long-term weight loss. And seeds give you all the advantages of nuts plus more. They're generally higher in protein than nuts and have many additional important nutrients in them, such as omega-3 fatty acids and anti-cancer lignins. In this nutritarian program, the delicious texture and flavor of whole nuts and seeds are used to create dressings and sauces, which make the whole diet taste great better, and even better than oil-tossed dressings and sauces most people use. And best of all, the result is superior health. So walnuts, hemp seeds, chia seeds, and flax seeds are the nuts and seeds with the most favorable omega-3 content. I use them a lot, and I strongly recommend that some of these superfoods be consumed daily. So walnuts and seeds be consumed daily. And of course, walnuts in particular have been associated with a host of beneficial biologic effects. They improve cardiovascular parameters, they enhance brain viability with aging, they reduce cardiovascular death, and of course, cancer death as well, and extend human lifespan. They've even been shown to prevent aging of the brain by reducing the antioxidant or the oxidation load on brain cells, improving, of course, nerve cell function, nerve to cell to nerve signaling, and neurogenesis, which means the growth of brain development and growing new brain cells even when we're an adult. So there's no question that the inclusion of a heart disease reversal protocol is that nuts and seeds are an incredible valuable addition and even life-saving. So notably, studies have shown that nuts and seeds remove cholesterol from the body, lower LDL cholesterol and triglycerides, and increase HDL. They also lower LDL particle number and lower serum glucose, both very favorable features for cardiac protection. And walnuts in particular may be the most effective at this because they've been shown to increase endothelial function, that's the cells that line the blood vessels, and enhance vascular elasticity. It keeps the youthful motion of elasticity of blood vessels and supporting endothelial health and viability. That means that the membranes of the blood vessels move and work better, and no other food or medicine can do what these nuts and seeds can do what walnuts can do. And walnuts do all these things simultaneously. So many people are aware now that eating more fruits and vegetables lower, of course, blood pressure and reduces risk of stroke. However, there's still some natural foods that are very powerful at lowering blood pressure and protecting the blood vessels, more than just eating plain fruits and vegetables. By utilizing these foods, millions could stop drugs and can get off the risky side effects of prescription drugs, which could even increase the risk of cancer, where these powerful blood pressure lowering foods induce, like tomato paste, pomegranate, and berries. But the food with the most powerful ability in this arena is likely flax seeds, because their blood pressure lowering effect is so powerful and shown to exceed most medications. So flax seeds are the richest source, of course, of plant lignans, a phytoestrogen that structurally similar to estradiol that enables these lignans to block the effect of estrogen stimulating breast tissue, and of course reducing the risk of hormonally related cancers. But for example, women eating more flax seeds were found to have a 42% reduced risk of death from postmenopausal breast cancer and a dramatic percent reduction in all cause of death in all cancers. Another interesting study on flax following women longer for up to 10 years found a 51% reduced risk of all-cause mortality, all causes of death, and listen to this, a 71% reduced risk of breast cancer death over that 10-year period. Plus, they gave additional protection against endometrial cancer and ovarian cancers too. So it's just another super duper food. And don't forget the other little miracle seed, the chia seeds. Chia seeds have a remarkable amount of soluble fiber, 11 grams of fiber per ounce, and letting them hold 10 times their weight in water once they're soaked or eaten in fluid or water. That means that they can make you feel full with less calories because they swell up and hold more bulk. And they cut your hunger down. They're another fantastic weight loss food. And of course, they're protective, encouraging the growth of healthy bacteria in the gut, and one of the richest sources of phenolic acid with powerful antioxidants and anti-cancer benefits. Chia seeds have been shown to lower blood pressure, to lower cholesterol, to lower insulin resistance, and of course help reverse diabetes. So, and listen to this, by the way, these seeds, especially chia seeds, are high in natural calcium and boron that are good for your bones, strengthening bone mass and preventing osteoporosis. And they're high in protein too. As a whole, they aid muscle and bone strength and are great food for athletes. I take myself 1 tablespoon of flax and 1 tablespoon of chia and 1 of hemp seeds every morning, with my breakfast. Chia seeds don't have to be ground like the flax seeds have to be ground because they can be easy to chew, but I do recommend grinding them or blending them because when you mix them in the food, you may not chew. You mix them in with oats or some other food, you're not going to necessarily chew them all that well. So better off to grind them when you're mixing them with oats or homemade raw granola or something. But I hope you start your day right with flax, chia, and maybe even some hemp seeds too, like I do. Maybe not as much, it depends on your caloric needs. The bottom line here is don't forget to take your ground flax seeds and chia seeds every day, because nuts and seeds, when they're used in conjunction with the dietary exposure that we're discussing here, with like greens and onions and mushrooms and beans, you get dramatic reduction of cancer, and we really have the ability and the science behind us to win the war on cancer. The take-home tip for today, of course, is make your breakfast the night before, soak some frozen wild blueberries, which are incredibly healthy for you, super duper, right? Super healthy. Soak it in a plant milk, maybe mash in a fruit like a banana or some dried superfruits like golden berries or acai berry in there, and add a few tablespoons of oats, and depending on your caloric need, a teaspoon of I'm saying it, a teaspoon, but it could be more because I had a tablespoon, but at least a teaspoon of each of flax, of chia, or hemp, or more like I do, and let it all soak in the refrigerator and soften over the refrigerator all night until morning, and you have the most fantastic breakfast. Thanks for joining me.